व्हाट आर, जैसे यही क्वेश्चन आ गया कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनलिज्म मस्ट प्रिसीड डेमोक्रेसी. Now, first of all, you need to interpret what does it mean. So, constitutionalism precede democracy means normally democracy is understood as universal adult franchise. Democracy is understood as system of elections. And what is constitutionalism? Constitutionalism means rule of law. ठीक है? Rule of law is also democracy. Fine. So democracy means you are limiting the powers of government. Even by elections, you are checking the arbitrary exercise of power of the government, that they should fear that electorate may punish them. ठीक है? Both these ideas, जैसे ये डेमोक्रेसी है, डेमो मीन्स पीपल, पावर लाइंग विद द पीपल, और एक सेकेंड है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनलिज्म और डेमोक्रेसी एज अ वे ऑफ लाइफ. ठीक है? Or you can say that constitutionalism means should people be educated in democracy. Okay? तो अगर हम एरिस्टोटेलियन कंसेप्शन देखेंगे तो more than this, what is important is this. ठीक है? डेमोक्रेसी को we can link with virtue ethics. Fine? So people should be habitual of democracy. It should be a way of their life. They should believe in the values of democracy. तो क्वेश्चन ये है कि where democracies are going to be more successful. So in non-Western world, democracies have been introduced, but they have not been successful. Why? Because they had democracy, but they lacked democratic culture, democracy as a way of life. So some people believe that rule of law should precede the elections. Before you introduce right to vote to everyone, you first make society democratic. Okay? अब इसके लिए एग्जाम्पल क्या है? Why democracy became successful in Britain? So in Britain, gradually rule of law came first and right to vote to the common man came later. And British democracy can be considered as like a substantive democracy, though now Germany and other have also become more substantive. But democracy का example Britain. But wherever a universal adult franchise has been introduced, there has been conversion of democracy into the tyranny of majority. So the scholars like Mill, they have always been concerned that you can't introduce democracy everywhere. There should be certain essential prerequisites. अब ये particular debate will stretch into should we go for democracy in the third world countries. So this new form of debate is often known as Lee Kuan Yew versus Amartya Sen debate. So Amartya Sen, Lee Kuan Yew and others, they believe that people should be, culture should be in accordance to the democracy, then only the chances are there. Asian values are more suitable for the authoritarian way of life. Whereas Amartya Sen says that there is no one Asian value, and he says that rather than making people fit for democracy, they should be made fit through democracy. ठीक है? तो अब ये एक पर्टिकुलर डिबेट है कि डेमोक्रेसी, अब क्वेश्चन ये है कि व्हाई आर वी डिस्कसिंग डेमोक्रेसी? तो ऑब्वियसली everyone, there is a consensus that there is no better form of government than democracy. There may be difference over what is true democracy, which democracy is ideal type या ideal form, but इस पर एक rough consensus है that democracy is the best practicable form of government. That even the countries which are not at all democratic, they try to they try to project themselves as democracy. For example, Iran, it tries to project itself as democracy. China calls it as People's Democracy or People's Republic of China. And when that democracy summit has happened, China has also accused the Western countries that their democracy is actually not inclusive democracy. However, we see another trend that once there was a consensus that democracy is the best form of government, there has been disagreement over which form of democracy. But right now what we see that this consensus is breaking down, and now the debates are suggesting whether authoritarianism is a better model. So right now authoritarianism is gaining more traction than ever, and the crisis like COVID etc., they also, जैसे once China was trying to project itself more as democratic country, but now China is trying to emphasize on how its own indigenous model is better than the democratic model. तो debates भी change हो जाते हैं, लेकिन फिर भी more or less the consensus is there should be democracy. अब there should be democracy not only within the countries, in the world order also, which is called as liberal world order, but China is against that liberal world order. The rise of China itself poses a big question mark over the desirability of democracy. And the countries which are democratic, which are liberal democracies, they themselves are turning very authoritarian. तो इस समय एज ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी के साथ साथ never ever the future of democracy was so uncertain the way it is today.